I am going to now turn this over to Ray Peacock, my friend in Madison, Wisconsin, who has been working with John Dziobko here for the last several years on scanning a lot of John's pictures and making them available on the Godfather Rails website. And now he's going to share a great program on a trip from 1957. Hello, Ray. The stage is yours.
Hello, Mike, and the rest of the chapter members watching in, both from Wisconsin, NRHS, and my chapter and John's chapter down in Rockford, the MWI chapter, who I know a lot of folks are tuned in tonight as well. I'll have the camera on John in just a second, but I wanted to set this up real quick. I think in the promotional announcements, we talked about a 2-week trip, but really what this was about a month-long trip. This is going to be a travel log type format tonight. And John actually left home on the 31st of August and didn't get back till like the 24th or 25th of September. So really a good 3-week trip. And we're going to cover as much of it as we can in as quickly as, you know,
not too fast,
not too fast, according to John over on my left here, but we'll take our time. That's one thing Mike wanted
to. We can go all night if you want
to. Mike asked if we would just take our time and talk about these slides. So we've put together a pretty good little show. And I wanted to lastly add that I wrote down some things to mention ahead of time. I think it was 7,000 miles. He paid $188 for the ticket. Did you buy that ticket in advance, John, at a travel agency?
Went down to Penn Station and I put it together for me.
Okay. Penn Station, they put the ticket together for him there.
That was his long.
Hang on, I'm going to turn the camera to John here.
Was this long?
Welcome, John, everybody. He's in his bed here at Capitol Lakes.
It was this long.
It was, hold your hands right in front of the screen there, John. He's got his hands out. About that long, he says. About 1.5 feet long.
Yeah.
So I've got to fix the screen so I can see it real quick here. Just let me do that. I'll get the show off the main screen here. Okay. So we'll start off with John in the summer of 1957 back at his home turf in New Jersey. And that was the summer that the K4s were their last service on the Long Branch. So the fans in that area were out in force getting those. And that would include John. Now, this is not a K4, but this was symbolic of what else he was shooting then. This was at Trenton, this shot right here.
That was a K4 before. Yeah.
Over at South Amboy, right, John?
That's right, yeah.
Just a few shots to set up what he was doing before he left his trip. They were double heading a lot of K4s, and
well,
here you see
not a lot, but some.
Well, Sunday afternoon. Let's put it that way.
They had to run in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was a reliable one.
Yeah.
And there they are, right there.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of John's favorite places to take photos at South Amboy in the afternoon light.
Yeah.
Now the diesels were encroaching. Here's one of them, and here's another.
It's a Fairbank. What one? 2,000 horsepower.
The last shot, yeah. Here we got EMD right here.
Yeah, the units.
And then we got there's your shark right there.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the convention, the NRHS convention, which was held in Roanoke that year. And it was a big event because they were about ready to de-steam their passenger train fleet on the N&W. And also they were getting their first diesels. Their first order of diesels had really just arrived a few months.
It was scary, very scary.
It was scary. We don't have to yell.
Okay.
Just be calm. This is the first shot that John took on Friday afternoon when he got to Norfolk. And this is a regularly scheduled train coming into the station and doing its station stop with a J. And there it is, the consist. We don't know what train this was. Maybe somebody will know. But it was one of the regularly scheduled trains stopping at Roanoke, headed west. And then the first afternoon of the convention, there were two things going on. You could go over to the Virginian property where they had set up a really nice display and had gone full. They rolled the red carpet out for rail fans, a lot of new ballast on the ground. But what I read was that not too many people attended the Friday afternoon Virginian event because there was a diesel ride. I can't think of the word.
Diesel line.
Excursion.
What kind of
there,
line?
there we go. This is some of the Virginian images.
Don't shake me, Ray. What happened?
My Justin, I got my elbow in your pillow there, John. Sorry. Okay. You see him all right, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Virginian, they did it right. They dressed up nice. This was the first weekend of his almost month-long trip. How many rolls of film did you buy?
I did 100.
About 100 rolls of film.
Yeah, English Kodachrome.
English Kodachrome.
Yeah, it was made in England, but I bought it here.
Was it cheaper here to buy that?
No, but they had it for me.
Okay. Well, here was the distraction that a lot of the fans were interested in at Roanoke that weekend. The new diesels were on the property. This was an engine that N&W was going to retire or had retired. I can't remember exactly in the timeline, but this was going to be in Norfolk or in Roanoke, I should say, for the next couple of years. But they dressed it up with this diamond stack and a box lamp. And they were going to run this on Monday as part of a triple header. This engine's now preserved at Strasburg.
That's right.
Here's the J608 just sitting at Schaefer's Crossing there. I think that's Schaefer's Crossing. There's another angle of it.
I think it is. I believe it is Schaefer's Cross.
There's some more shots of action around there. Kind of wild to see that big of power pushing some cabooses around. Maybe they. So the A's and the Y6Bs were both in operation.
That's right.
Both around Roanoke and out on the road.
That's right.
Now, as you look at this map of the N&W, you see Roanoke. Just east of town is Blue Ridge Summit, I believe. I'm not qualified in this territory, so correct me if I'm wrong. But to the west, you see the Bluestone branch just west of Bluefield. There's going to be an excursion on that as well that goes up into West Virginia. We're looking at Blue Ridge Summit right here. The center siding is occupied by Helper Power, and here comes an eastbound freight, a coal drag, I think. And John's there. This is the first day of the week, of the weekends of several fans were there. Second train showed up. It was a westbound Manifest. I told John I really like this train a lot. And here he is meeting this light power in the center siding. You see the guy on the left doing his duty, inspecting the train from the ground. And there it goes. That's a Manifest train from 1957. That's what boxcars look like.
That's right. No graffiti.
No graffiti either. Oops. Let me go back one. Yep, I guess that's our last shot there. This is the excursion up on the Bluestone branch that you see a de-shrouded K, number 114, is pulling one coach. And that one coach we pulled back as a deadhead move back to Bluefield. It only took participants up to meet the Virginian trackage, which is on the right up on the bluff there. This is going to go back as a deadhead move with some crew members. But it sure is a pretty engine. It posed there for a minute. This is at Filbert, West Virginia. On this bridge, you see a shot here, and John got a lot of shots with cars in them and people. As I scan and process his slides, I find myself gravitating to those slides more than just the ones of the machines. I mean, I love the machines too, don't get me wrong, but this is a Jeff Hawkins picture that he let me use for this show. Thanks, Jeff. This is same bridge.
Yeah.
This was a branch that NS, I think they banked it, rail banked it. That's the word I'm looking for, because it did provide an outlet to the Virginian as a relief valve if there was some problem. Once again, you see the Virginian up on the right there at the higher level. They're down on the N&W level, and this big power, the 2190 is going to shove the gondola of rail fans up the hill. John opted to get the move down from below it. And he goes above where the power drifts back down. And all the rail fans are up on the right, up on the high tracks of the Virginian. That's our deadhead move going back to Bluefield. That's a pretty little train. I told John I really like those de-shrouded Ks as much as I like them shrouded. They're beautiful engines. Now we're up on the Virginian, and this is going to take the people back to Roanoke, right, John?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And they're going to ride in open gons.
Yeah.
But before they get in and go, they get a chance to take a picture of the train out on the bridge. If you look down, you see the N&W main line below it. Suddenly there was a whistle or some commotion, and this guy was going by, headed east. Now, I've seen another shot. No offense to you, John. This is a great picture, but the slag pile, I saw a picture of somebody else. I think Mr. Volkmer, the late Mr. Volkmer, took slightly upstream where you see the bridges in the river, and it's a beautiful shot. But this was a grab shot. He did a good job getting it. Number 604, I think it is. Meanwhile, back up on the gondolas, rail fans without any goggles because we don't need them on the electrified Virginian.
That's right. But it wouldn't hurt to have them.
Now, later on, you'll need them, right?
Yeah.
Some West Virginia countryside. I included this picture because down on the bottom right there, or to the right, you see a gas station, and John had a real penchant for shooting those. He loves gas stations and oil company logos and symbols and whatnot. So,
Standard Oil.
Yeah, so count them in the show here. Count the number of gas stations that you see. They're headed back on the Virginian right here. Now, this is the next day, and they're headed into a tunnel on the main line. This is just a main line excursion, I think, and they're riding gondolas for this. I hope you have your goggles for that because the tunnel's going to be a little smoky. But you see the power up there by the tunnel with a clear signal.
Yeah.
And I will say something really in regard to the first person who was talking about his slides and the scanning of slides and whatnot. And, you know, I've scanned thousands of John's slides, and I have to tell you that scanning slides is just step one, because they'll still be old dingy looking slides after they're scanned. But don't worry, there's gold in them there hills, because once you start working on them in the digital workflow with Photoshop, like I do with John, or whatever software you like to process pictures with, the magic comes back. And we were able to get the magic to come back on these pictures, in my opinion. They were really dingy looking slides when you looked at them through the slide viewer, but when you scan them and then you work on them in Photoshop, this is what you get. This is at Bluefield. There's another K with the shroud and what I like to call patina. As a guitar players like patina on their guitars, and this is a steam engine with patina. You know what that is, right, John?
Patina?
Yeah, patina.
No.
It's dust,
No.
dirt. Yeah, it's not what you were going to say. Okay, moving on. We've got Y6Bs. I think these are underneath the exhaust stacks. And once again, I included the human element in this. I just love the human element when I use this picture. Out on the main line, some of the Virginia countryside. On the pokey, look at all the cinders.
Pokey.
Hey, get a hold of yourself, okay? We're on the main line, and there's cinders down there, cinder path. Getting ready for the big triple header on Monday, Labor Day, and we've got the 475, which will lead the triple header. It's doubled right here. I included these because I like the preparation for this triple header. You're going to see the railroad employees as they get ready for this trip, and the hierarchy of, you know, this is a big deal to the N&W. This had to come off right, looking good, and they were really proud, rightly so, of their reputation. And you see those two guys in the middle, they're definitely management. I think the guy on the left is the train master. The guy on the right would be, or I'm sorry, the guy on the left would be the road master inspecting the engine. The guy on the right would be the train master, if I'm correct. And then you've got the laborers on the left and up on the top putting water in, and of course the conductor in his full uniform. You'll see a couple more here. There they are having a little safety meeting while the rail fans are having their little catch-all. Once again, one more little safety meeting or whatever, and off they go as a doubleheader. They're going to go to Christiansburg, and that's when they're going to tie on the third engine. So here we are at Christiansburg in the highlight of the day. You can see the depot down there on the right. And I got some more people shots. And I think once again, that road foreman sitting in the fireman's seat here with the fireman probably on the step there. I'm guessing here. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
And there's 475. More people shots. I like this shot a lot. These guys were happy fellas. They were going to be in engine number 2, I think, that day. And that's engine number 3.
Oh.
And that is what kind of engine is that, John?
480 Mastodon.
Okay. Mastodon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have the 2. And we're getting it ready for a highball. And this is my favorite shot of John's from that whole weekend right here, because it shows it all. It's got the train, it's got the elements, it's got the people, the machines. And if I may, I'm going to blow this up, because when you look at the people, you see how they're dressed for the occasion. They're just locals. They came out to watch this action. You see the cars, they're all Detroit iron. This 57 Chevy Army issue, brand new, for official use only, of course. But there it is. And probably would be able to tell where this was taken at if we could decipher that number and where it was on the NW system, the bridge number or whatever it was. But I love that shot, John. That's a great shot. So a couple more shots as we get ready to leave for Chicago. We went back to Blue Ridge Summit and got the diesels doing a little manifest of making a move westward here. There's that helper power drifting back up to the center siding. There he is drifting by. You see the center siding that we showed pictures at from earlier in the day and in the show. Also, one more J to get as this one comes by. I'm trying to remember what one was this. Oh, this is a K maybe. Yeah, looks like a K. But anyway, this is John's time in Roanoke. So John is going to ride an overnight N&W train from Roanoke to Cincinnati. We don't know the name of that train. If anybody knows what that train was called or scheduled was called, let us know. Maybe tap it in the comments. But we think
Pocahontas. I think.
You think so? Pocahontas? Okay.
Yeah.
If you looked at the west end of the N&W system, it split at Portsmouth. One went to Cincinnati, the other went to Columbus. And they were both in terminals for the railroad. I think this is the 600 and this might have been the power that John rode that pulled his train in there. We're not sure. We don't know. You'll see why we don't know in a minute. Here's some other stuff that was just there at the station in Cincinnati that morning. Another J showed up. That's why we don't know. I think this showed up while John was there. The 606 showed up with a train. And then John's power, I think, is moving into position to be hooked on to the train to head north.
That was that?
I think it is, John, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
Here's the J getting ready to depart. I think he'll be turning around.
I think that was a Cincinnati anyway.
You think that was a Cincinnatian?
Yeah, power for Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. Well, you're talking about the Pensy power?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't your power, but it was Pensy power being switched.
That's all.
Very well. And this is a J getting out of the depot here. L&N.
Yeah.
And a quick map of Indiana to show you where John will be riding. And this is trackage that no longer exists for the most part. Pennsylvania Railroad lines west, if you will. Coming north out of Cincinnati, came into Indiana right here and up into Richmond. Richmond was a big railroad town for the Pensy, right? Lines radiating 5 ways.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Here we go to Fort Wayne, to Mackinac City. This way we go to Chicago. This way we go to Indianapolis. This way to Columbus, and this way to Cincinnati. Well, John's going to ride this way up through here. So you're going to see pictures of that territory coming up from the back of the train. This is Richmond, Indiana. Now, John had time to get off his coach and take this picture looking forward. But that's the depot at Richmond. That was the architect Daniel Burnham, I believe, the guy that designed a lot of Chicago architecture and other places as well. Great building. And it's still, I think, used as a real estate office these days, not as a railroad. That town is not a railroad town anymore.
Track gone. Is track gone?
Oh, Richmond, yeah, wiped out as a railroad town.
Oh, okay.
Now we're up the line here and we're looking out the back window of John's train. John liked to do this, take a lot of photos out the back window. And so here we are in Indiana looking at some nice cornfields, but you also see some Pensy stuff like those crossbucks, the cast iron Pensy crossbucks. Those things weighed a ton. The next shot was at Anderson, which he was able to shoot forward, stepped in the vestibule to shoot forward here at the depot in Anderson.
That's right.
The next one is coming up is Windfall. Now, we're going to show a going away shot of Windfall, but before we do that, if you look at this track, it's actually a section track coming out there to that little shanty. But behind John is the crossing of the Cloverleaf line from Frankfurt, St. Louis, Frankfurt up to Toledo. And you will see that when you look at the going away shot as they're pulling out of the depot, I'm going to zoom in here. And you can see that down the line there is a diamond and a track crosses. That's the home signal for that track. And there's another one for the crossing there. So another diamond in many rails across Indiana that no longer exist. I had to blow this up because I just thought this was fabulous. This is life in a small town when a train goes by. I know because I grew up in one. But the train is left. They're waving goodbye. You check out the Oldsmobile rocket there. John likes Oldsmobile rockets, so I put this in the show.
I had one. We had one.
Yeah.
1950.
Yeah. And the railroad agency truck there on the right with the Winston cigarette ad there on the side. The next depot up was Windfall, Indiana, and there was another diamond there behind John.
It's a view up there.
Yeah.
Track is getting better here.
Well, the track looks good here, but this is all gone now. And this really, I include.
New York Central paid for that, the ballast.
No, you're looking at, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about Logansport.
Well, right there, they paid for that.
Did they get to Cincinnati that way?
I don't know.
Well, they did spend money on Pensy track down there in Indiana,
They did.
but I don't know that it was here. What I like about this shot, though, is what it says about America in 1957, which is life in the USA in a Chevrolet or whatever. Because I grew up in this era, and the picnic table by the side of the road was a great place to throw down for a picnic. And you see the cars on the highway. The interstate bill was either going to be signed in 57 or 58. Things were really about to change, and nobody knew it at that time. Now we're coming into Kokomo right here, and John spots a gas station, so he grabs the shot.
Standard Oil.
I like the crossbucks myself and that stuff, the apparatus.
I like Standard Oil sign.
I know you do. Now at the depot, looking back, you see the folks that just got off the train. And I'm going to go to the next picture because we're just a little further up the tracks. And here we are. You can see the depot in the distance. And I, at one time, thought that was the Cloverleaf, but I've been since educated that was the other N&W subsidiary or LE. This track went up to Decatur and hooked up with the Erie at Decatur, Indiana. So the reporting marks were LNE or LEW or something. But anyway, N&W by this time. And a lot of interchange here. You see the man up in the tower, the tilt signal. And I'll zoom in because down here, you see the Beverly Hillbillies and, well, you know, life in Kokomo, Indiana. Look at that.
Yippee, yippee. I can't help it. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Anoka Tower. We're up almost to Logansport here. And you can see where John has slipped through the switches.
I slipped them
Yes,
down.
he did. Right through here, like this. And now you're crossing over to the main right here. I think that's a Penske truck.
It is. It looks like one.
Yeah.
Well, the guy rode it. That's his truck. The guy got to the tower. That's how he got. Well, unless he got in that car.
I think the tower operator had that car and the Penske employee was just there visiting, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Just a little further on down the track, and this is DT&I power at the coal chute in Logansport, or one of the coal chutes. That was a big railroad town at one time, and it still is.
Well, Logansport was a big place.
Yeah, yeah. But nowadays, it's just a shadow. It's just a little bit of activity there.
They had stored engines there.
Yeah, right in the middle there, you see some stored steam.
Benzene steers.
Another shot. And this train, we think, was getting ready to be coupled on the Johns train. I don't know for fact, but it might have been from Columbus and Pittsburgh being, you see the shifter down at the other end, and it might have been being tacked on the Johns train. Anyway, we're going to move on and take a look at the Union Pacific Railroad timetable, because John's going to be riding the train from Chicago to Omaha that night. And then from Omaha, he'll be riding from Omaha out to Cheyenne. So I included there over on the left, you see he will leave Chicago at 8 o'clock that night. Now, I know this is Northwestern from 1955, but in 1957, it had the same basic time schedule. So I borrowed this 1955 schedule.
You sure?
I'm not sure. I said, I think so. You know why I think that, John?
Why?
Well, because you had time to kill.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you went around and you shot some surface lines, a Green Hornet in Chicago.
Yeah, I did the right thing, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Couple of women there. Right?
Yeah, nice shot of the street scenes in Chicago. Look at that Cadillac on the left.
Yeah, that's a Brill bus in the back.
A Brill bus.
Yeah.
But where we are, waking up, well, we're getting ready to wake up or be in Cheyenne, Wyoming, after he rode out all night in a coach to Omaha, Council Bluffs, Omaha, and then you stayed on the same train.
Wait a minute, we had a dome car.
Well, yeah, I know you did. That's the view you had out of it.
Yeah.
You didn't know I put this picture in there, did you? When you saw the preview today, you did not know I put that picture in there, but I found this and I put it in there. This is John arriving at Cheyenne in the dome car.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the Milwaukee Road power led the train all the way. So this is an example of how a rail fan could see foreign power back in those days on a passenger train, not on freight trains like today.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Union Pacific folks were kind to take care of the power. Milwaukee Road was nice to keep it looking good and keep the image looking good. But John's now going to spend 2 or 3 days in Cheyenne.
Went crazy.
He did.
John went crazy.
There's the 4017 East coming into town. It's now in Green Bay at the museum, but here we see some stock cars behind the engine.
Look at the brakes.
Yeah, the brake shoe smoke. He's slowing down, coming down the hill.
Yeah, that's so.
There he is going by.
Yeah. See, that's on top.
The big blows were in action.
Very nice. They were around for 10 years, right?
Yeah. Now we got a lot of pictures to show, so I'm just going to kind of move through these. If anybody,
not too fast, not too fast.
Don't scold me. Don't scold me. I'm just saying we want to keep people awake. Okay.
Well, they're awake when they see this.
I know.
Is there?
I had to borrow a few from Rail Pictures that John had uploaded since I couldn't find my scans of them. So thank you, Rail Pictures, for letting me to do that, and thank you, Rail Pictures, for the support that they've given John over the years as well. Look at this shot. I love this shot because it shows steam and the big blow, right?
Yeah, there's a little switcher there.
Look at that. That's nice. There's not room on the turntable for both of them, John.
I don't know. But the switcher did a little bit of work.
Those are dead Challengers. The one on the left has already lost his number plate. 3950, I think, is not going to run anymore. But 3966 is. Another shot of our little shifter at the Cheyenne Roundhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
More action at the Roundhouse. And then we got one headed west, a freight with diesel power headed west.
ABA.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's ABBA.
That's right.
Yeah. And then next door, the CNS, or
John went crazy with the CNS.
the CB&Q. They still lettered them as CB&Q, but there was still steam in action there in the yard. And so we have a few shots here. That's that yard office. The building, I think, still stands and serves BNSF today. I'm not positive, but I think it does.
Want to go find out?
No, not that important. But I like the human element here. That guy's giving you the eyeball, John.
Which one?
The guy, the crewman. This gas electric was working. He was hooked up to
It
cars.
might have been diesel electric, right?
Diesel electric. Okay.
I
You know better than me.
Well, I think they converted from the gas.
Did they?
Diesel. Yeah. They didn't have a chance of an explosion that way from the gasoline.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because that happened already.
Yeah, I believe it. Now that you mentioned that, that makes perfect sense. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. So one more, two more, we'll be done. So John's getting ready to leave Cheyenne, and I included this shot of an eastbound UP mail train, number 28. I don't know what train that was. Maybe somebody can help us ID that.
There was a lot of mail trains.
I know, but there's somebody that knows that, John. I want to know. That's why we're historians. Okay, so anyway, I included this shot because it represents John's departure, leaving Cheyenne on a night train.
Yeah.
And down on the bottom left here, you see top left, 6:20 p.m. He leaves Cheyenne, and he'll be getting in Boise the next morning at daylight. So you're gonna,
that's right.
So you're going to sit in your coach seat all night long.
Yeah, there's a lot of mail stops, right?
A lot of mail stops.
Every station, I think.
I think this train stopped in Rock Springs for like 2 hours.
I don't
on the timetable that we just looked at. But anyway, the next morning, that's good it did because you got good light in Boise. A couple of UP trains working the depot here. Now we see the guy. The blue flags have been removed. Looks like they're going to move him. He did go back to Salt Lake City and capture this little animal.
Salt Lake, that's right.
Yeah, because that's where you had to get on this California Zephyr, correct?
That's right. I took a bus, Greyhound bus. They honored my railroad ticket.
They honored your railroad ticket. So from Ogden, you went down to Salt Lake City on the bus, and then you got when the CZ arrived, you got on, but you had a little while to shoot a couple of shots here. Yeah. Well, you got on the Western Pacific, California Zephyr. It was night, like, I don't know, 10, 11 at night. And the first light of day is Gerlach, Nevada. And that is just about California. And John grabbed a shot, and this was a dingy old slide that I scanned. And through the miracle of Photoshop, you could brighten it up just enough to render this meow, meow. And John, when he gets excited, likes to meow.
I meow all the time.
Yeah, he does.
I'm meowing more than I talk.
Well, we should tell him why, because you have a cat.
Huh?
You have a cat. That's why.
A cat?
You have a cat.
I know.
Yeah. Here we are climbing into California here. I think we're climbing.
You see,
if we know the number on that signal, we can find out where we're at later on. So if anybody wants me to tell them that number later, I'll tell them. Here we are coming south into Sacramento or Pleasant Grove here, I think. This is Western Pacific property. You can tell by that signal there and the apparatus. That's what I loved about all those railroads. They each had their own personality.
Yeah.
Stockton. Now, I didn't know that the California Zephyr, because it was Western Pacific, came into Stockton and swung over to the bay. That makes perfect sense, but I didn't realize it. So I was kind of confused when I was putting these together in the chronological order, but this is right on the way. And then he arrives in Oakland, in the California Zephyr. Welcome to California, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's what he's going to spend a little time in San Fran and Oakland. Then he's going to go to Los Angeles, then Mexico, then come back to Los Angeles, and then again San Fran. So what we're looking at now are the first pictures in San Fran from that last, I think, afternoon that you're there. You stayed there the whole day.
Yeah, I did.
And so he just kind of made
I came up on a lark.
Well, no, that's when you came back. but we're talking about you're still in San Fran for the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
So you took these pictures,
Nice.
I believe, of activity. Now, maybe I've got these wrong. What I'm showing now are the shots of John's train being assembled to go to Los Angeles at Townsend in San Fran. So he's leaving this tower right here. Will be backed up to his train. Everybody's excited because it's train time.
That's right.
And then he's on the way. And like UP, SP put their train numbers in the boards. I love that. You can tell what train it was. Number 98 was, what was it, John? The Coast Daylight, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was Coast Daylight.
Might be for the dome. Is there a dome card?
There's no domes on the SP going south of the Coast Daylight. Some of the Shasta, the Coast Daylight going north out of, that's when they had the domes.
Yeah, that's right. They
The
didn't have
Shasta
the domes.
domes. Yeah.
No, you got the big windows.
But we don't know where this is. So if somebody knows where this platform and depot is. Highlight of the day, a service stop.
Yeah.
What was that tell you this might be? Salinas? I don't know.
Somewhere in the middle of the day.
This is the next depot. Still don't know where we're at. If anybody can tell us, we'd love to hear.
That's right.
And looking out of his car window at the same town that last shot was in, you're starting to see that beautiful
I think that's Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara.
Or yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Not Pasadena. It'd be Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense
Yeah.
because the light of the day would say that.
Yeah.
Because these next shots will confirm it, I think. Right? You're starting to see the ocean now.
Yeah.
The beautiful views. That's Pacific Highway 101 on the right. Pre-interstate era, ladies and gentlemen. That was the main road.
Meow.
There we are looking at the beach.
That's a great shot.
We like the kids looking at the train above and the family down there looking up.
Yeah, they did.
Signal number, if we want to know where we're at, we can figure out this later on, but 3882 SP going east. The boardwalk.
That's nice. I like that.
Now we're almost in Los Angeles, and I like the rolling hills of north of Los Angeles here. I told John this reminded me of a Perry Mason TV scene that you could see his trusty detective Paul coming down the road in a big convertible.
What kind of a convertible?
A Cadillac, of course, and it would look like something like this. But anyway, we're in Los Angeles, and John is fascinated by the red line in the streetcars, and he stays at the YMCA's, I should say, right, John?
I think so. Yeah.
If you look on the left there, that's the Hotel El Rey Hotel. I think the designer of that hotel did a lot of work for the Santa Fe, that Fred Harvey houses, maybe. You could Google that guy or Google El Rey Hotel and you can find the story. But this picture right here is in the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit because it exemplifies what was going on. The traction from the steel wheel to the rubber tire wheel was.
Oh, that's a different company. Right?
I know, but this was a transformation underway. Of transit. And we all know the story. It's been told many times, but you wanted to get as much red line action as you could. And so you did the next day or so.
It was formerly Pacific Electric. It was Metro at this time.
Right.
Yeah, Metro. The agency took over.
Now here we are at Slauson Junction.
Slauson Junction?
Yeah, it's Slauson Junction. Now that's the famous
sure?
John, please, can I talk? Don't interrupt, please.
Talk.
Thank you. Slauson Tower is down there on the left behind that truck. And the two tracks in the middle are your express tracks. The two on the outside are the local stops. Here's a San Pedro train going south. There's a better picture of the tower. And you remember the slosh, I can't say the word, Slauson cut off jokes from Johnny Carson's show. I tell you, when I was processing these pictures, I couldn't help but think that. Slauson Junction. Slauson cut off. Okay. A couple more.
Sounds like somebody lost his head.
Hey. Okay, here we are, the vaunted Television City. CBS had just opened this up about a year or so before.
That building's still there?
Well, I think it is, but I think CBS sold it a couple of years ago. It was for sale. I don't know if they sold it. Okay. We're going to zoom in at some of these cars. I think that's Art Linkletter's Oldsmobile, John.
Well, that could be.
You never know. Because he passed you on the way out, didn't he? After the taping.
I'm walking one way. and he's walking the other way.
So
He was going to the parking lot, I think.
right. So John went to the taping of the Art Linkletter show at CBS Television City here. And before he went in, he took this picture and he was just relating what he saw after he left. But while he was inside, that's what he saw. Now, here's another dingy old Kodachrome that you couldn't even see when I looked at it in my viewer, but I was able to save this. Thank you, Photoshop. And there's a couple cool things to look at here. You see the cue cards. You see the cameraman. You see the kids here, and they're all on a set that's rolled out on the sound stage. There's Art Linkletter. And John is in the studio audience. And there's a better picture of the whole thing. Now you see the clock in the, that's 9 o'clock, but that's fake time.
Fake time.
Fake time. That lady right there was one of the hosts on the show. I don't know her name. That was Art Linkletter right there talking to the kids, or actually she's talking to the kids in this scene, but that's a pretty cool picture. I like that.
Yeah.
That was television in the 1950s, and it was all moving from New York to LA at that time. The industry was. Well, there were some trains to be had too. Here's the Super Chief in the morning haze.
Nice train.
Had to borrow these from Rail Picks. Thank you. I'm just talking to everybody to let them know where I got these pictures from, because I put the scans away.
Those, Ray.
Oh, I know you did. I know.
Well, I don't understand what you said.
Well, you don't see it, but there's a Rail Pictures mark on there. I'm just telling the folks that I borrowed them from the Rail Picture site because I don't know where the scans are right now. I didn't have time to find them.
That's okay.
Okay, all good. Here we go. Moving forward. The money shot. Now, did you have to get permission to go down there to get that?
No, I just went down there.
You just went down there and got that?
Yeah. I had to get permission for the picture of the Super Chief at Union Station, though, for the next morning. Yeah.
Okay.
I did that.
Okay.
I had a policeman with me.
Oh, wow. 3751 before it came back to life.
Yep.
So John made a side trip to Mexico, to Tijuana from Los Angeles. He went to San Diego on a bus.
Greyhound bus. Greyhound bus.
He busted himself down.
Constitution.
Yes. No. Calm down. Calm down.
Okay.
We're looking. Yeah, we're looking at Mexico from the U.S. side right here. I'm going to zoom this in because there's some cool things to see. That's the Mexico officials there. That bridge right there is the actual border, I think. And these cars over here are coming into the States. That's 1957.
That's right.
Now we're inside Mexico, and I really like this shot a lot. That gentleman walking with a briefcase or with a satchel is cool, but that car behind it, you will see again in another shot in a little while, the two-tone 56 Chevy. My dad had a two-tone 56 Chevy. John.
What did you do with it?
Well, somebody ran into it.
Oh, no.
I know.
Was your fan here?
It was a day at school. He dropped me off at school and he got ran into.
Oh,
I know.
You gonna get another one?
Yeah, but not a 56. Oh, look at these buildings. Architecture. Some of the cars. Now, some of the stuff that I think is in, are we looking in America or are we looking? No, that's still Mexico. There's your gas station, John.
Chevron, is that right?
Yeah.
And Mexico.
There's Mexican commerce. A couple more shots here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in.
And now we're headed back to the States.
Okay.
You see the U.S. signs, and they're the English ahead of you across the border there.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're walking, you're a pedestrian, so you're coming through that way.
Okay.
And you get up to the Santa Fe depot. You're not going to ride the train back, but you're going to take a couple pictures there at the depot, right?
Oh, I took a bus back.
Yeah.
This was a bus trip. But
the railroad ticket honored this bus ride down there, right?
Yeah.
So this was included in the 188.
That's right.
All right. That's what was parked at San Diego that morning. Back to LA. More red line. This is down by Long Beach, I believe. No, that's Slauson. That's Slauson Junction.
That's
right
Watts. That's a Watts car.
No, we're going to be showing Watts, but this is Slauson Junction.
You got to bring your gun down there, right?
Not then.
You sure?
Well, I don't think so, John. Here we are at Watts. And you see
They had those
what it looked
power.
like.
Southern Pacific Power.
Yeah.
What's that one?
It's a SW something, I don't know. Well, always on the move is the Godfather, always on the move towards a better way. And on a train. I'm not going to be a Santa Fe train, though. He's going to get on, no, not the Super Chief, not the Super Chief. He's going to get not on that train. That's the San Francisco chief getting ready to depart after John arrives in San Francisco on the Owl.
Ooh.
That's right. Who like an owl? The overnight train from LA got him to sit to Oakland here, and the San Francisco chief is going to leave to go east pretty soon. Getting ready.
Yeah.
Better light for the depot shot, the Santa Fe depot in Oakland.
Uh-huh.
What a beautiful structure that was, or is.
Yeah.
John knew by now when the light was going to be good and the angles were right and the trains were going to be in them. And so he waited for the CZ, the inbound CZ, to get this with semaphores in the distance. And then he went over and got some Muni action in San Francisco, the city by the bay. And like gas stations, Rexall drug signs were everywhere back then, just like Walgreens are now.
Uh-huh.
So
no more Rexall?
I don't think so. I don't see them. I don't think so. But they were a big train sponsor. They did the Train of Tomorrow, I think, in the late 40s. So anyway, or whenever it was, going to look at some streetcars, cable cars.
Yeah.
Here we go with a famous turn, Powell. I like that lady on the right. These are some more good human interest shots. Look at the Boy Scout in the middle on the left, full uniform.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The Woolworths.
Huh?
The Woolworths on the right, John. You could have gone in there and had a nice dinner at the diner, the counter.
Oh, I might have. I don't know.
You might have, I know.
Yeah.
And then
I might have gone down there and ate my lunch, right?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I don't remember.
Well, here's the 514. I like that red car. Just a few scenes of the Muni here.
What is that red car?
I think a Plymouth, but I'm not positive. Coming down the hill. Now you know why they use cables, right?
Huh?
This is why they use cables.
Exactly right.
Looking down. And one last shot of the Muni, and you see the bay in the background. But John didn't want to he wanted to give equal time to the predecessor of Bart. So he went over to the key system in Oakland.
Yes, sir, Ray. No cheating here, Ray.
Oh, that's right. We get it all. So this is by you see the tower on the right and the fine food, the Key Hotel. I don't know if you ate there before you shot these, Sean, but
I might have remembered.
Jim, or not, Kevin Keefe is a fan of theater. So I really wanted Kevin to, if he's watching tonight or in the future, to know that we included this. The Oaks Theater in Oakland. That is a cool shot. There is lots to see in that one.
Uh-huh.
And the key system served it.
Yep.
Line car.
What line car? That's right.
And now we got some this is not neighborhoods, but serving the public here.
Uh-huh.
And Key Club. D3.
A switcher.
Yeah. And John, like I said, knew the angles for the lights, so he managed to get these. I'm going fast because I know that the time we're
Not too fast.
Okay, I'll slow down a little for you.
We got all night.
Okay. Well, we'll hold this one for a second, okay?
That's nice.
That's real nice. That's sweet. That's not bad either.
It's the only unit they had like that, right? They didn't have any more like that. That was a rebuild, by the way.
I like that one right there, the Black Widow scheme.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's late afternoon and John's going to get the best that he can while he's still got some available light. He knows where to go and he's going to leave the next day. So he's going to get a few shots. This is dead SP steam. Daylight power is stored dead, probably to the scrapper. One more shot of some commuter power, also stored at Oakland.
And the diesel there.
and a few shots from the bay on the ferry.
Oh,
There's a Golden Gate, or I'm sorry, the Bay Bridge, right?
got that thing in the middle, see it? Yeah, the Golden Gate's got one span.
That's the Bay Bridge. What I like about this shot is you can, I'll zero in a little bit. You can see some boat out or ship out there. You see the ferries or the slips. There is the bridge going north the SP uses, and now is blocked by I-80. You won't see this angle because the I-80 is in the foreground, or it's behind it maybe, but I think it's the foreground. Well, you see the naval mothball fleet right there.
Yeah.
And on the lower level, I think the railroad, and I think that is a train on the lower level.
It could be, yeah.
We don't know. It's a mystery.
Should you blow it up a little more?
No, it's just fuzzy if you do.
Uh,
Those are the SP ferries right there.
uh-huh.
All right, here's the